Using the framework of the 4 potential components of personality that we talked about in Chapter 1, Eysenck conceptualized the structure of personality as the 4 superfactors: extroversion, neuroticism, psychoticism, and intelligence. In terms of the dynamics of personality, Eysenck didn't think that these 4 types influenced each other in any way. Personality developed as a product of an inherited nervous system, but he didn't theorize whether personality changes at all. Geoffrey Gray was another English psychologist who studied under Eysenck. Gray also studied languages, and since Eysenck was fascinated by Pavlov's work, he asked Gray if he would translate some of the original works of Pavlov into English, which was still in Russian. So the two started working closely together. Gray thought that Eysenck had great ideas, but he refined them. Gray argued that instead of extroversion and neuroticism, we should be studying the brain bases of the pursuit of incentives and rewards and the avoidance of punishment. So in refining Eysenck's work, Gray proposed his own theory, the reinforcement sensitivity theory, in which he proposes that people have individual differences in their abilities to pursue rewards in the environment and to shy away from things that are punishing in the environment. Gray believed that there are 2 main personality dimensions represented by this. He argued that there are individual differences between people in impulsivity on one hand and anxiety on the other, and that those individual differences are largely different because of 2 individual brain systems. The first system is the Behavioral Approach System, or BAS. It's a connection of structures in the brain tied together by neural pathways in which we seek rewards. It's a system responsible for seeking rewards and going after incentives. The BAS is linked to the personality dimension of impulsivity. If we say someone is impulsive, what would Gray think about the person? Well, he believed that exceptionally impulsive people have an overactivation of their BAS. The BAS is associated with positive experiences. When you anticipate incentives, you're using the BAS. Another conceptual way of thinking about the BAS is that it's our motivational engine that pushes us to approach rewards. In contrast, Gray hypothesized that we also have a behavioral inhibition system, or BIS. The BIS is associated with anxiety. It's sensitive to threat, punishment, and danger. It's meant to orient us to new environmental stimuli. We're hardwired to find new stimuli potentially threatening. In other words, the BIS is sensitive to environmental threat. Conceptually, if the BAS is the engine to approach incentive, then the BIS is the brakes for our behavior. It compels us to avoid stimuli. Overactivation of the BIS results in anxiety. Interestingly, these systems exist relatively independent of each other. There is some evidence to support this theory. For instance, we find that the left prefrontal cortex becomes activated in an infant's brain when a mother approaches it. And people who have higher left prefrontal cortex resting levels of arousal have more subjective positive responses than those who don't. They learn in the lab faster when the learning mechanism is a reward. A particularly reactive BAS may characterize a more impulsive person. We have similar evidence in support of the BIS. Right prefrontal cortex activity increases during states of anxiety, such as when you watch scary movies. People with higher resting levels of the BIS, or right prefrontal cortex, are associated with faster conditioning to punishment. This means these individuals tend to learn faster when the learning mechanism is punishment. A particularly active BIS may characterize a more anxious person. Eysenck and Gray went back and forth on these theories and on discussions of the BIS and BAS systems versus the extroversion and neuroticism dimension. Gray thought that extroversion and neuroticism was secondary to the BIS and the BAS systems, whereas Eysenck and other researchers argued that the BAS is just extroversion rebranded and the BIS is just neuroticism rebranded.